Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, and that was actually a 35mm film strip that we just watched that I scanned as an experiment on our Blackmagic Cintel scanner, where I basically spliced together a bunch of film strips and kind of ran them through. The way I presented it was as a slideshow, and the transitions between are not what I want. I want it to be like it was a film strip, to where it kind of like each frame kind of advances. So I'm working on that, trying to figure that out. Anyways, thank you, Mobile Gas, for that educational film strip about bike safety, as explained by a airline pilot. Let's see, what do we got here? Lots of Coronet stuff. This is Reading for Pleasure. This is something we just scanned, so it's hot off the scanner. Enjoy.
The printed word has a certain magic to it. Somehow, when you read, your imagination starts seeing things and hearing things. You find yourself imagining what it's like to live in another land. Or the words may take you to another time. Words can also bring you the excitement of a dangerous sport without risking harm. The printed word can bring you a variety of experiences, and reading materials are available most any time you want them. The same is not true of other forms of communication. Movies are shown only at certain places. TV programs are on only at certain times. But you can read whenever and wherever you want to. And when you read for your pleasure, you have your choice of thousands upon thousands of different titles. You can select whatever you want most any time you want it. There are a number of ways to find books you'll enjoy. Your librarian will be able to suggest readings related to your interests. She can also lead you to lists of books which you may like. You can get ideas for new books to read yourself by looking in your Sunday paper, in the book section. If you know of a particular book that you want, and you know the title or author, the quickest way to find the book is to look it up in the card catalog. The cards, as you know, give a number to identify the book, telling you exactly where it can be found. The number also leads you to other books on the same subject. Interested in science? Science books are generally kept in one section of the library. Books on travel are kept in another section. Care to go exploring along the Amazon? Perhaps you have some sport or hobby that you'd like more information on. Anyone for stamp collecting? Arts and crafts is a good place to look if you're interested in making some puppets. Storybooks are found in yet another section. Of course, you may not have a particular book or subject in mind. Maybe you just want to browse through the library to see what you can come upon by chance. Go ahead, take your pick, any book that you want. See one you might like? Let's take a look at the table of contents. Does it look like something you'd want to read? Try reading a few lines from the opening page. Read some more from the middle of the book to get an idea of the author's style. It's not required reading. All you have to decide is, does it seem fun to read? It's up to you. Perhaps you'll find what you want in a bookstore. It can be something of an adventure, just browsing through and looking for that special book that you know you'll like. Paperbacks are the least expensive books, and they're small and easy to carry. Have you ever seen a movie that you liked so much that you wanted to read the book from which the film was made? Perhaps you found a particular author that you enjoy. You may want to read other books written by the same person. One of the best ways of learning about a book is from a friend. Books that your friends enjoy may well be books that you'll enjoy, too. Once you've made your selection, there are several ways of getting the most enjoyment from it. One thing to remember is that when you're reading for pleasure, you have a great deal of freedom in how you read. Suppose you start reading a book and, well, if you're not enjoying it, don't finish it. Put it aside and try another. The same goes for the speed at which you read. You don't have to read every word with equal care. Suppose you're reading a sports story about a basketball game. If you like, you can skim over the action very fast, just finding out what happened in the game generally. At another time, you may become interested in the personalities of the players and the details of the game. Then you can read more slowly, slowing down the action, almost taking part in the game yourself. In another book, you may be reading about an action that is so interesting that, well, you may wish to read it again. And perhaps even again. Another time, you may wish to read some poetry. You can add to your enjoyment by reading it aloud.
Just the place for a snark, the bellman cried, as he landed his crew with care, supporting each man on the top of the tide by a finger entwined in his hair.
The sounds of the words are as important for your enjoyment as what they mean.
Just the place for a snark. I have said it twice. That alone should encourage the crew. just the place for a snark. I have said it thrice. What I tell you 3 times is true.
Suppose you find a section in a book that you're having trouble understanding. It may help to discuss it with other people, to get their viewpoints. On the other hand, you may be the kind of person who prefers to keep the experience of what you read as something very private, between the author and yourself. The important thing to remember is that when you're reading just for pleasure, you have a great deal of freedom in what you read and how you read. Reading materials are at your command to carry you to other lands, to other times, to other lives and adventures, to the farthest grasp of your thoughts and imagination.
Sorry, I was eating a sandwich. Because it is lunch. Yeah, I'd love to show Book is for Burning, but I don't think I have it handy right now. Maybe later. We'll see. But what I want to know is, how does light help us? I'm outside, by the way. What's hilarious is this time last week, it was snow on the ground. It was gross and cold outside. Today it's 70 degrees. Welcome to North Carolina.
Is there a burglar in David's home? Oh, it's David himself. And his friend Mark. A flashlight's fun to play with. And it's useful, too. Without light, we can't see. We use different kinds of lights, inside and outside. Many of the things we see give off light. Some lights tell us things. To see clearly, we need a certain amount of light. When the TV picture's made darker, it's hard to see. When it's made very bright, it's also hard to see. Very bright light is hard on the eyes. When someone takes your picture with a flash, you blink. Sunglasses help protect our eyes from bright light. You've probably learned that it's not safe to look at the sun directly, even during an eclipse when the sun is partly hidden. Most of the things we see by sunlight. Sunlight shows us things that don't give off light themselves. Sunlight passing through this glass helps us see its color. Light passing through this slide helps us see the picture. We see by light from the viewer that passes through the slide. We can recognize many materials by the way light passes through them. Light passing through a material helps us see what the material looks like. Suppose we have something that light doesn't pass through. It looks dark when the light is blocked. But on the other side, we see the light. The light reflection bounces off the shiny plastic. The plastic reflects light. This is another way that light helps us see things. We can find many objects that are good reflectors of light. These things don't give off light themselves. They're simply reflecting light that hits them. That's how we see them. Different objects reflect light in different ways. This material is too rough to show the flashlight clearly, but it still reflects its light. What about this paper? Do we see it because of light it gives off itself, by light coming through, or by light reflected from it? How about this cloth? What happens to the light hitting it? We learn about materials by light that passes through and by light that's reflected. Seeing how light is reflected from different things helps us see what kinds of materials they are. Light helps us see by the way it's reflected from things. Light helps us see by the way it passes through things. We can also see things that give off light themselves. Light also helps us in other ways. It helps things grow, for instance. How does this help us?
Sorry, somebody in the comments mentioned they were having a sandwich with a pickle, and I was like, ooh, I want a pickle. So that's what I went and got. I apologize. I mean, it is lunch. It is nice out. This next film is about Southeast Asia, specifically Thailand, and at the time, Burma. Enjoy.
Burma and Thailand are similar in their geography and in the ways of life of their people. Most Burmese are rice farmers. They tend to use old traditional methods of farming and irrigating their fields. After rice farming, fishing is the most common occupation among Burmese. There is not much industry, so there are not many industrial workers. And not many people are at work extracting the natural resources of the country, although there are rich oil fields. Rangoon, the capital, is modern looking. But old traditions guide much of the life of the people of Burma. Tradition is also very important to the people of Thailand. There are many similarities between the lives of the Thais and their Burmese neighbors. Thais are mainly rice farmers and fishermen. Industry is not important here. Some Thais work at mining tin, Thailand's most important mineral resource. And Bangkok, Thailand's capital city, has the same modern look that Burma's capital does. So, in many ways, these two countries of Southeast Asia are similar. The similarities begin with their geography. The northern parts of both countries are covered with mountains. Rivers dominate life in both nations. The Irrawaddy in Burma, the Chao Phraya in Thailand. Both, like the Chao Phraya, flow southward through the central areas of the two nations. Both nations share part of the Malay Peninsula, lying between the Bay of Bengal and the Gulf of Siam. Burmese fish in the Bay of Bengal on the west, and Thais fish in the Gulf of Siam on the east. The capitals of both countries, Rangoon and Bangkok, are both river cities and major ports. Rangoon, Burma, is on the Irrawaddy. Bangkok, Thailand, is on the Chao Phraya. In both countries, these rivers have many uses. Teakwood logs from mountain forests of both countries are floated downstream to lumber mills. Motorized boats carry passengers upstream and downstream. The Burmese and Thai shop at floating markets and bring their goods to market by boat. School boats carry children to and from school. The rivers are stages for elaborate and colorful festivals. And there are also local laundries and bathtubs, too. The rivers are also important for food. Their waters irrigate the farmers' rice fields. And Burmese and Thais dip their nets into the shallow parts of their rivers and harvest them for fish. Fish and rice are the most common foods in Burma and Thailand. Most of the people of both countries also follow the same sect of Buddhism, Hinayana Buddhism. Buddhism has influenced not just the lives of the people, but also their music, art, and architecture. Every young man who is a Buddhist in Burma and Thailand is expected to spend at least 3 months living as a monk. They depend on the people for their food. Sharing food with the monks is a daily morning ritual. This is the temple of the Emerald Buddha in Bangkok. There are very many Buddhist temples and shrines in this part of the world. And so the people and their two countries are very much alike, but of course, not exactly alike. Burma has more natural resources than Thailand. It has deposits of jade and other precious stones. There are large deposits of tin and oil. Burmese have built dams to put the water power of Burma's rivers to use for generating electricity. Even though this electricity is used for operating machines in factories, most of the work in Burma's factories is done by hand. Burma's industry is still geared to handcrafts, like making gold leaf. And weaving silk. Another difference between Burma and Thailand is in their people. Burma's population of more than 25 million is made up of several large, distinct ethnic groups. Only about 2/3 of the Burmese are Burmans. Other ethnic groups have different languages and different customs. Because the Burmese population is made up of many different kinds of people who maintain their independence from each other, it's difficult for Burma to be a strongly united nation. Once part of the British Commonwealth, Burma has been an independent nation since 1948, but the government has been unstable. Thailand has fewer natural resources than Burma. Tin is mined hydraulically and is an important export. So is rice, rubber, and teakwood. Manufacturing in Thailand, as in Burma, is still on a small scale, with factories putting out handcrafted products like hand-painted umbrellas. And lacquer trays. But industrial development is being encouraged. In this factory in Bangkok, automobiles are being put together from parts made in Japan. Tin ore is smelted at this plant in Phuket. Small amounts of cement are made for use in Thailand's economic development plans. Irrigation canals have been built as part of these plans, as well as many miles of highways. In spite of the emphasis that Thailand is putting on economic development, approximately 9 out of 10 Thais still work at producing food, for Thailand, like Burma, is an agricultural nation. Thailand's people, though, are not as mixed as Burma's. 80% of its 30 million people are of Thai stock. The rest are hill tribesmen, Vietnamese, Malays, and Chinese, the largest minority in Thailand. One of the results of having such a large majority of its people of Thai stock has been a comparatively stable government for many years. A constitutional monarchy with the king the chief of state, and the prime minister the head of government. One of the government's problems is to bring to the isolated hill people in the north the same services most Thais have available. The government provides medical services. Agricultural information helps the farmers improve the yield of their crops and the quality of their farm animals. The government has built schools and trained teachers. It's built dams and irrigation projects. And it's building roads to help tie the people in the more isolated regions to the rest of the country of
neighbors on the Malay Peninsula of Southeast Asia.
Phuket. That's how you pronounce it. Phuket. Don't pronounce it any other way. Okay. Beautiful footage. So we've been scanning a lot of the Coronet films, and so this is some of the batches of stuff that we've been scanning. Right now, my assistant, Kayshawn, is scanning the stuff that I brought last night to show. I did a show about decisions, and I had the audience pick a film to watch, and the film didn't run through the projector very well, so we're going to scan all of those and make them available on YouTube probably tomorrow, or maybe later today. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that was a bummer. That was a bummer. Anyways, that's what happens. Even when we do live shows, technology is always, vexing us. And that's one of the reasons that I like film scanners, is because I can run stuff through them, one, without damaging the film, two, I can run stuff that won't run through a projector because for whatever reason. And I think that film that I ran last night was beginning to shrink, so it was losing the loop and it was crapping out. So there you go. Okay. So this film we showed, we found a silent copy of it. So there was no soundtrack associated with it. Well, we found a print of it, and hopefully we'll answer a lot of questions that I have. Supposedly this is some sort of game show. I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, here it is. Making word pictures. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm your moderator, Harvey Brooks, and I hope you're ready to have fun with words, because it's time to play Making Word Pictures. Word pictures, perhaps something like the pictures you'll see on this screen. Images created in people's minds by words they read and hear. Today, we're concerned with word pictures that appear in the minds of our panelists. Mike Hartman, Marilyn Field, and Alan Davis. The pictures will be created by our contestants, Sally Ann Summers and Jerry Brown. Now, Jerry and Sally Ann, you know the rules and you've come prepared. You'll each present 3 short compositions to the panel. An oral composition, a composition written in school and brought here, and a composition written here before the panel. The object of the game, to use language effectively, to create vivid word pictures in our panelists' minds. We'll begin with oral compositions, and with Jerry Brown. Jerry, if at least 2 out of 3 members of the panel think you're using language effectively to create vivid word pictures, you'll be rewarded with a... Otherwise, you'll get a... So go on, Jerry, with your oral composition.
This composition is about my best friend. My best friend has curly red hair. She's pretty, but not in the usual way. She has a cute, funny look, and she's 10 years old. But that's not important.
What matters most is how she likes boys and girls and how she tries to help them. And when you look into her eyes, you see a warm look. That means she cares about you.
Some very interesting word pictures in that composition, Jerry. Pictures of a cute, helpful, red-haired 10-year-old girl. Now, panel.
Wait! I wasn't talking about a girl. I was talking about Princess, my Cocker Spaniel. Oh.
What a shame. It seemed to be a pretty good composition, but there weren't enough of the right word pictures to give us the true story, that Jerry's dog was his best friend. So, be sure you use the right word pictures to make your compositions clear and vivid. And now it's Sally Ann Summers' turn to present her oral composition. Sally Ann?
I want to tell you about my room. My room has all the things that make me happy. There are my toys and books, and there are my clothes. And then there are my dolls. I collect foreign dolls. The one I like best is a French doll my Aunt Judy gave me.
Sally Ann's oral composition. Panelists, what do you think? Well, don't be surprised, Sally Ann. Remember, the word pictures were supposed to be of your room. But the things you described didn't give us a picture of a room, but of what? Panelists? Just toys and books, clothes and dolls. We know there's more to your room than that. The trouble is, Sally Ann, you didn't give us an overall picture of the room. For example, is the room rather empty? Or is it crowded with your things? And are the walls painted? Or are they papered in some interesting pattern? But perhaps details were missed because these were oral compositions. Now for our next round, our contestants have brought compositions written in school. We'll begin again with Jerry.
My dad is an auto mechanic, and last week I watched him work. He was taking a car engine apart. He turned hard on the wrench, and the bolt went snap, and out it came. Snap, snap. Bolt after bolt came out. Then he tapped on the engine with the hammer. Clank, 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 clank. There was a cracking, sliding sound, and he lifted the top part off the engine. This was red. It was dirty on the outside, but there was a design of lines and circles on the inside, where it fit the other parts of the engine.
Jerry's composition about his father's work. Panelists? Good word pictures, Jerry. They helped us to see a lot of little things and even let us hear some interesting sounds, like snap, crack, and clank. What's more, you've noticed interesting details that help us understand what your father does. And now it's Sally Ann's turn to present a composition written in school.
I had a wonderful spring vacation because my mother and father and I took a plane trip to Chicago. The airport in Chicago was crowded with people. In the same way, the roads were jammed with cars. And the downtown streets were busy with people. How colorful the store windows in Chicago. How freshly green the parks are. And the buildings at night with their thousands of lights over the water of the lake.
Word pictures of Chicago. They are. And I'd like to let our audience know why. First, Sally Ann told us how the buildings seemed to float lazily over the water. And she used an adjective, an adverb well, when she let us know the parks are freshly green. She used synonyms, describing the city as crowded and busy. And she used descriptive phrases, for example, to describe buildings. So, we have good word pictures from both Sally Ann and Jerry. And a good introduction to our final round, in which our contestants will write their compositions here before. Call for skill in making word pictures, because we're asking for compositions about imaginary people living imaginary lives in imaginary places. Composition to the audience while the jury judges your word pictures. Far from Earth lives Grark. He looks a little like Earth people. Ours, but it is blank, with no eyes, nose, or mouth. Talk, but he's in the air. He moves across the planet. Grark sends out thought waves. People like him, but no one ever answers. The others are gone, and Grark is alone. We cannot hear his thought waves, but if we could, we would think they were very sad and lonely. Very good. And the reason is that Jerry did not copy anyone else's images. He used his imagination in Jerry's composition. For example, he looks a little like Earth people. Telling us what Grark was like brought this imaginary person to life for us. Now, can Sally Ann do as well? Laughing Deer was a little Indian girl. Her father, Great Bear, was a brave chief. One day, as Laughing Deer was playing, an arrow whizzed and flashed out of the trees. A strange warrior stood there, and, fast as a rabbit, Laughing Deer ran to tell her father. He talked to the other men. They knew it was the enemy tribe over the hill. That night, there was a war dance in the village. The huge fire leaped to the sky, and the warriors ran and jumped like angry demons. Next morning, the women and children were alone in the village, their quick hands weaving cloth and grinding corn for food. They looked over the plains, but no one was there. Then, after a long time, White Eagle, Laughing Bear's cousin, saw someone coming. It was Great Bear and the other chiefs. The other warriors would not be far behind. Laughing Deer was happy. Everything was all right. Complete word pictures? Yes. Word pictures that told us something about sizes, colors, and sounds? Yes again. Detailed word pictures that didn't copy anyone else's images, that made vivid, clear comparisons? Yes again. and what interesting similes Sally Ann used. Laughing deer ran fast as a rabbit. The warriors jumped like angry demons. So, our game ends in a tie, with 2 good rounds for both Sally Ann and Jerry. Of course, it's likely that neither of them has made the best word pictures in the world. But in this game, everyone is a contestant. You and everyone else in our audience. You all make word pictures when you speak and when you write. Whenever you speak to someone, or write a letter or a composition, you're playing the game of making word pictures, a game whose winnings are measured in satisfaction and fun.
Such an odd format for that educational film, to do it as a game show. And what's interesting is I do have other films that have a game show. There's one on Courtesy that is, or no, not Courtesy, Etiquette, that was made in the 80s that features Cuba Gooding Jr. So I guess it is a trope, the whole game show thing. Maybe I should do a show of just films that have game shows, or making game shows. Thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate your eyeballs. Jeremy, thank you so much for the donation. He did that via the Super Thanks button, which is something that, or a Super Thanks option, or Super Chat, or I don't know what it is, but it's via YouTube's chat. You can also support us via ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are wonderful ways to support us. And that money goes to pay for storage unit rentals. And another way you can support us is by watching other films that we have on our channel. We've been uploading 25 a day. And if there's advertising on it, watch it. And we get pennies. We get some money, and that adds up, and it helps offset the rental costs. Because it's not cheap storing 37,000 films. I don't know. I don't recommend it. I love that I have it, but sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I have to go, especially when I have to go find films and I have to sit on my, lay on the ground and pull stuff from a shelf, and there's a physical aspect to this, which is oh my God. But showing them to you and getting your wonderful feedback and seeing your comments is what we live for. That's why we do what we do. Doing live shows also, that's why we do what we do, is to get that feedback, to hear the laughter, to get the questions, the gasps, all that stuff is stuff that we enjoy. And so thank you for being there. We would certainly do this without you, but it wouldn't be nearly as fun. And probably I would not be continuing to do the show. I'd figure out some other way to show films to people. But so thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Thursday? Yeah. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.